Welcome to our tutorial for the BEKA Modbus RTU display, where we will explain some of the basic features including wiring, configuration of the Modbus communication, scripting features, software packages to help you develop your application, and the documentation that is available. Wiring the products to the Modbus master is very simple. The major components to be connected are the display, communications isolator, and the Modbus master. A 20 to 30 volt DC power supply is required for the isolator. Power is transposed onto the data cables between the isolator and display, where the blue coloured cable is necessary to designate an intrinsically safe circuit. Connections between the Modbus master and the BEKA device are made accordingly for RS232 or RS485. Please note that the BEKA Modbus display is a slave. Connections for the field-mounted BA484D are identical apart from the fact that they are concealed behind a terminal cover to ensure IP66 is maintained. Safe area installation does not require an isolator, so connections for power and data are direct to the BEKA BA688C. In this picture, the terminal layout is shown, which is identical for general purpose and hazardous area models. Termination for the general purpose BA684D, once again, follows the same pattern as the panel unit, with subtle differences for RS232 and RS485. Again, installation does not require an isolator, so connections for power and data are direct to the BA684D. For both the BA688C panel mounted and the BA684 field mounted products, the external switch terminals can be used instead of the front push buttons. These are fitted as standard to each unit, but selection is optional via the menu setup. Okay, let's move on to the configuration of the Modbus communication and selecting a standard screen. Upon power up, the model number, firmware version and revision number will be shown. This is always helpful to know if we are talking to you to assist with an application. We then have a splash screen showing the BEKA logo. This could be your logo if you prefer, or perhaps the machine description. It's possible. To enter the configuration menu, the top left P and the top right E buttons should be pressed and held simultaneously. Incidentally, this is the same procedure for any BEKA product. Let me explain the duty of each push button you will use. Top left is designated as P for programming when you want to enter a submenu. Top right is E for escape from the submenu, thereby selecting the parameter you have left highlighted. Middle left is to navigate down a menu and middle right to navigate up. The lower button on each side is not used for programming. Please note that the field-mounted models only have 4 buttons on the keypad. Now we will start configuring the Modbus communications. To do this, we first access the menu. We are now at the top level main menu. First, we need to select Comms and enter the submenu selection. View Settings is a check screen where you can view a summary of the current settings. Within the installation manual, there's a menu flow diagram that shows all the menus, submenus and selections available. We will now look at the baud rate. Now we are on the set baud rate screen, where speeds between 300 and 19,200 can be selected. Please note the arrow adjacent to 9,600. This means the choice continues on another page. Press down arrow to view. We want to select 9,600, so we highlight 9,600 and then escape back up to the comms menu. Baud rate is now done. Now data bits. So we now have a choice of 7 or 8 data bits. We require 8. so we highlight that line and come back again to the comms menu. A data bit's done. Now to stop bits. Select one or two stop bits by highlighting the appropriate line. Now we move on to parity. Here you have three options: even, odd, or no parity. For this configuration, we do not require parity. Next on the menu is protocol. Again, you have three options: BEKA, Legacy, or Modbus. Here we are using Modbus, which is the easiest way to display process variables on the unit. BEKA protocol can also be used to construct custom screens for Modbus applications. And to complete the explanation, Legacy is the protocol used when BA488C is replacing the now obsolete simple text display. We now have a notification. Address changed to 1. Let me explain. Each device requires an address to which data is sent. The default for the BEKA units is 0, applicable for BEKA and Legacy protocols, but for Modbus, 0 is not allowed, so our default when using the Modbus protocol is 1. Press any key as shown on screen to move back to the menu. Please note the arrow next to protocol, which means there are more submenus. Scroll down to view the second screen of the menu. We will now look at how to set an address. Each text display must be allocated a unique address, and here is where you do just that. The range of the address depends on which protocol you have selected, but for Modbus it can be any number between 1 and 247. Modbus 1 to 247, BEKA 0 to 247, Legacy 1 to 15. Once the correct address has been entered, come back out to the comms menu. Now we have finished entering the comms settings, let's come out of the comms menu and go back to the main menu. We now move on to the screen format. Here is where you select how many variables you would like shown on the screen at any one time. There are 12 formats in total to choose from. You can choose to display 1, 2, 3, 4 or 8 variables per screen, with or without bar graphs. Okay, so once you have selected your desired format, come back out to the main menu. If you are happy with the settings entered, simply press E to escape and save. The display will then restart. Your configuration settings are saved within the BEKA unit, even if there is a power down. However, it might be a good idea to record the settings manually elsewhere for your use in the future. Upon restart, the model number, firmware version and revision number will again be shown, followed by the splash screen showing the BEKA logo. The BEKA display will then configure itself according to your settings and then be in a state of readiness to accept data from the Modbus master. It's looking good. For the protection of the settings and the process, your configuration should be protected. Within the main menu, you're able to set a 4-digit passcode. This will inhibit all menu settings until the correct code is given. As you have seen, we can gain access immediately to the menus, which tells us that the unit is not protected by an access code. This screen is where you can create a 4-digit code. We have now completed the configuration and protection of the unit. Regardless of model number and type, all similar BEKA models are configured in the same way. We shall now take a look at how you can use and create custom screens or scripts for applications when the 11 standard data display screens are not sufficient. Custom screens and scripts convert the BEKA unit from being just an information display into an operator interface. In this example, the application requires that speed, temperature and duration are to be shown, and the operator should be able to start, stop and adjust the process. Remember, the BEKA unit is a slave, so all command comes from the master PLC or control system. However, the BEKA Modbus display runs scripts internally to define how data is shown and how to interface with the master, so that when a button is pressed, a script event is initiated. Such a key press and subsequent script event will prompt the PLC to send a new string of data, which may be a different set of process values or a message if the user has used the device to execute an action. Our Modbus interface and programming guides provide much more information about these subjects. There are also several software tools free to download from our website to help you with custom applications. These include a screenwriting software which allows you to build custom screens specific to your application, a text display simulator which demonstrates the capability of the serial text display, and a programming utility which enables application software to be developed without any additional hardware. If you would like any more information regarding the software packages or the products in general, please feel free to contact our dedicated sales team at sales@beka.co.uk and one of our engineers will respond as soon as possible. A full range of documentation, including the relevant product certification, as well as manuals and programming and interface guides, are available for download in PDF format via our website. Please visit www.beka.co.uk and search under the Downloads tab to access these files. Thank you for watching.